coming Monday night and Tuesday is the holiday of Lag BaOmer. It's the 33rd day of the Omer, the period of time between the holidays of Passover and Shavuot. Two great events commemorate this day. One, that a plague that decimated and took the lives of 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva, the famous leader and sage of the Jewish people, in the 2nd century of the Common Era, thankfully stopped, but not before it brought destruction and death to an entire generation of scholars. And the second event is that Rabbi Akiva had a famous student, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and he passed away on the 33rd day of the Omer. But he told his students, please observe the day of my passing as a holiday, a day of joy. Who was this Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, known as the Rashbi? He was the author of the book known as the Zohar, the book of Kabbalah, one of the very first official books that wrote down the Jewish mystical dimension of the Torah. I'd like to share with you that there are many interesting customs that are connected to this day. I remember as a child growing up in Montreal, our Jewish day school would take us out of school that day and go to the parks to hike and to play. And one of the activities was actually to play with a bow and arrow. And since it's the day that we observe Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's yahrzeit, his day of passing, I think it's only apropos to share with you the mystical dimension of a bow and arrow. You see, a bow and an arrow, in order to function, you need to take the arrow, try as much as you can to apply tension to the cord of the bow, and the further that you bring it towards you, in all practicality, the further it will fly. What does this mean? It means that, generally speaking, for a Jew, the Torah gives us the do's and don'ts of life. You know, it imagines if you do this and you don't do this, life will be good for you. You'll be balanced, you'll have serenity, you'll have inner peace, but only if it could be so easy. Sometimes we feel that inside we're not prepared to do all the do's and the don'ts of the Torah. Sometimes it seems like it's in conflict with what we really want. And so, how do we fix that? And the Rashbi tells us, if you want the most possible furthest reach that you can do in life, if you want to throw your own personal arrow as far out there as you can imagine is possible, then sometimes you have to stretch the bow and bring the arrow as close to you as you can, close to your own heart and to your own soul. The Rashbi wanted that if we can learn more and more about the inner dimension, if we can tear away the layers and the veils of the simple laws of the do's and don'ts and try to appreciate and comprehend and understand the why of each thing. What was it about God's will that interpreted this law to be this way and this law this way? What is it about us inside that really is in so sync with this divine will? The more that we can understand our own soul, the more that we can appreciate our inner workings, our psyche, our emotions, you would find that the way of Torah and God is really much more aligned with you and easier than you can imagine. Sometimes the biggest secrets and the biggest solutions to all the problems that we faced is that we don't know enough about ourselves. And if we can reach deep within ourselves, if we can pull the arrow deep within our own recesses and find out what we're all about, we'd be able to accomplish and have a reach far beyond our wildest imaginations. So in the merit of the upcoming holiday of Lag BaOmer, maybe it's time to learn more about ourselves. Not to see the Torah simply as a bunch of 613 rules of do's and don'ts. No, they're the inner will of God. It's time to open beyond that simple book of Jewish law and start to read some Jewish mysticism, some Chabad Hasidic philosophy that begins to align you with who we are and how we are aligned to God's will. And many of the things in life that we found to be sometimes in conflict actually will bring us the greatest satisfaction.